All right, welcome to the Business Beat. I am Janelle Best, president of the Howell Area Chamber of Commerce of Podcast. And this podcast will connect you with leaders, issues shaping our community, and really some really great local information as well. I'm joined today by my co-host Diane Samples, and we are here today with Jordan Dick, and he is with Motorsports Gateway. So this is a local initiative development right here in Howell and Livingston County, and we're really just excited to have you on today to learn more about this project, but also learn about you and what this means to you personally, and really what this is going to mean for our community as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, and with that, I'm going to let you just talk a little bit about who you are and how you got involved in motorsports.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you both for having me today. It's cool to be here and just kind of shed some light, give some insight to the project and even to myself. I mean, this is something I'm deeply passionate about. It's not just another business, so it'll be kind of cool to share what's my origin story and how do we get to where we are today with Motorsports Gateway, and give a little bit of the why behind the project.
We love
that.
Yeah, what I love is you're driven by passion. I saw that this morning and I was like, this is perfect. Mm-hmm. So clearly you're very passionate about motorsports. So how did you get involved and engage, and what is your background with that?
I guess it goes back to my early teenage years. I mean, even I guess a little bit before that, I could never go fast enough. Originally from Canada, and my grandpa was the foreman on a farm. So he was operating heavy machinery and things like that. And I think even at like 3, 4, 5 years old, I was sitting on his lap and not just observing, but I mean, I don't remember this. This is just what grandparents and family tells me. But I was actually operating the controls, so he would drive up. I couldn't reach the pedals, so he would drive up where we needed to. I'd tip the bucket back, lift it up, and then he'd drive to where we'd have to dump it, and then I'd dump the stuff. I don't remember this, so I guess just from a young age, it seems like it was something that was just kind of instilled in me, that motor skills were pretty developed at a young age. And then, so from there, it didn't really do anything with motorsports competition. That didn't actually start until like 2001 when we lived in Italy for a year. The company my dad was with got bought out by the Kamau, part of the Fiat group. And so that's actually what took us over to Europe. Up until that point, I was a good old Canadian boy playing hockey. I think we just come out of the womb wearing skates.
Right. Sorry.
It's just a rite of passage. Yeah. So... I was playing hockey a lot, but then when we went to Italy, there's not that big of a hockey scene over there. And even a couple of years before that, I was really bugging my parents that I wanted to start go-kart racing on a paved circuit, not dirt or anything like that. And we found a local track that the owner spoke pretty good English. And so he put me out on track and he said, okay, we're going to find out Jordan's either going to be a donkey or he's going to be a stallion. And if he's a donkey, just like keep it as a hobby. Don't try to pursue it, any sort of profession or career or anything like that. But if he's a stallion, there's definitely something there and you should pursue it. So I go out there, don't really have an idea of exactly what I'm doing, but kind of leaning into my intuition and maybe what some people told me. I come off and he says, okay, this is interesting. He's not a donkey. He's not a stallion. We're going to call him a pony. It's like, okay, I can work with that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be.
And so we got a cart. I started doing just practice there like every weekend. We'd go out to the track. It was about an hour and a half away from where we lived in Montcalieri and in the middle of nowhere. I started doing the club competitions there. And when it was time for us to come back to the States, Claudio is the guy's name. He said, listen, actually, 2 things I got to tell you guys. I feel really bad because I actually sold you a broken go-kart. I thought, you're American. You don't really know how to drive. I saw some talent there, but in the time that you were here, you really evolved quickly. And the chassis we sold you was bent. So it was going to kind of like affect my performance. But he said, definitely when you go back to the States, you have to find a team. You got to keep Jordan racing. There's definitely there's the
potential.
talent there.
So
Yes.
what did you say when you said that to you? And how many years did you spend driving a go-kart with a broken?
And is that the go-kart that you kind of did your little audition type run on? So you were using a faulty or not an up to speed go-kart?
No, it's a great question. That wasn't the go-kart. I just used one of the rental cars that has like the bumpers around it and just a simple 4-stroke engine. But no, the kart I was practicing more on and actually doing the club competitions with, that's the one I was using. And we still have the kart. It's sitting in storage, and it's definitely going to be somewhere on display at Motorsports Gateway in Howell. So it's kind of, we'll have the whole, origin story there. It's not just a business.
So then you came back to the States, and how did you find a place to race and put together that competition team?
Just started asking questions, local people who are already into motorsports, whether it be friends, family. We just kind of asked, okay, who do you know? Where do you go? And then just started collecting as many dots as possible. And then from there, we started connecting them and was able to put together a connection with a team on the west side of the state called MRP. And so we went out there. They had me do kind of another, not really audition, but just see like, okay, put him in a cart, see where he's at. And the cart they put me in, it's called a ICA. It's Intercontinental A. Little, I guess, getting kind of go-kart tech nerdy on you. But so I went in that, did pretty good. And then Gary, the owner of MRP, he said, listen, there's this new class that's up and coming. It's the shifter carts. That's what we're going to put them in. We're not going to mess around with this direct drive stuff. We're just going to go right to shifters. So I started doing that pretty much my first year, won the Great Lakes Championship. And then actually at my first national competition, which is down in Texas, is the SCUSA series. At the time, they were a pretty big national series. Superkarts USA is what it stands for, in case anybody wants to know. I showed up, but I did a lot of my practice in like a parking lot, actually, where the old Novi Show place used to be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just
right off 96.
Yep. Yeah. So my dad and I would go out there. We'd load up the cart in the back of the Jeep, and I'd pull it out and just do practice starts, practice hairpin turns, just like the fundamentals and the basics. And then in my first national race, I ended up qualifying second. And me being the competitive person that I am, I wasn't happy about it. I wanted to qualify pole position. And then this gentleman, just after the session, I'm talking to the mechanics, and this gentleman walks up and he's pretty tall. He goes, who are you? I'm like, I'm Jordan Dick. What do you mean? And he goes, no, I know your name, but like, where did you come from? Who are you? Like, nobody here has heard about you, and you just showed up and qualified second. I was like, yeah, I know. I'm kind of upset. Like, I really wanted to qualify first. He chuckles and he says, you know what? One day you're going to look back and realize kind of like the gravity or the significance of what you're able to achieve today. And especially now, looking back at my racing career, I can kind of really fully understand that. But that gentleman is Bobby Rahal. So IndyCar driver, Formula One, his son's Graham Rahal. So that's actually one of the other drivers I used to race against. And so it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a cool,
it is
cool
one
highlight
of those defining moments,
yeah.
right? Yeah. No, that's very cool. I appreciate you sharing that story with us. So are you still actively engaged in racing and competing today?
Yeah, actually my last sanctioned competition I did is the Detroit Grand Prix in 2019. I competed in the Trans Am Series. And actually even before that, it had probably been about 10 years since I had done any high level competition. I'd kind of gotten to the point where I was progressing with motorsports, national, international competition in the Formula BMW Series. And it was getting to the point that I really enjoyed it, but it was more of a job than something for pleasure, for passion. And just the pressure to perform was pretty difficult, and it wasn't as enjoyable anymore. So I kind of took a step back. I still wanted to be involved in motorsports, and that's kind of where I think the fork in the road led us to the path that we're on today with Motorsports Gateway. But it was, how can I grow this community? And to do that, people need a place to come and actually experience it, a destination to connect with like-minded individuals. And before Motorsports Gateway, we opened JD Karting in Novi. But yeah, so I do competitions here and there. And
for sure, yeah. Well, and so you had this experience all throughout really kind of your childhood. I mean, like you said, starting at a very young age. Clearly you have a passion for this. You still continue to have that passion and stay present and engaged in this. And this is really what's, like you said, led you to Motorsports Gateway and the Howell Automotive District. So we know a little bit about the why, as far as, like you said, that you were trying to bring this here. Why Howell? What does this project look like? Somebody listening might not even have a clue what the Motorsports Gateway is and what your intent is. So we're hopeful that, you can share that information today and we can help spread the word about this exciting new development right in Howell.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess going back to the previous story, I kind of got lost in my own story and like reflecting back on my life. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that did happen. But to bring it back to today and where we're at for Motorsports Gateway, I mean, simple. The goal is to grow the automotive and motorsport enthusiast community. And like I said, to do that, people need a place to actually come and experience in it and connect with like-minded individuals. And one of your questions is why Howell? There's other cities, towns, properties that we had looked at. We knew we wanted at least 100 acres. And we knew we wanted to be within a stone throw's distance of a major interstate. So you've got 96, 696, 75, 275, through the Metro Detroit. And so we just looked at all the properties that are available. And first, then we went and talked to some of the city officials, the planning, community development directors, managers, mayors, things like that. And we just said, listen, here's the concept. Is this something that you'd be interested in your community? And for anybody that you really saw the light turn on, like that's who we knew we wanted to continue the conversations with. And at the time, it was Irv Suda, who's now the Howell city manager, and Tim Schmidt, who's not with the city anymore. But they kind of looked at each other, and then they looked at us, and they said, I think this is something that'd be pretty cool to have in our community. So simply, we chose Howell because Howell chose us. I mean, they really showed the biggest initiative. And then fast forward about 2 weeks, we actually went up against another developer, Biltmore. When this is during like COVID and everything, so the city councils were done remotely via Zoom. And we kind of shared what we were doing. Biltmore shared what they were doing as a residential development. And unanimously, the city council, they picked us. So that's, like I said, we chose them because they chose us. So it's cool to have that support and
have that reciprocation.
Yeah, especially.
Oh, that's exciting.
That is exciting.
So what are your plans for this? I know that there are different phases and stages, and what's the vision? Yeah,
another good question to kind of go deeper on it. It's an automotive district, right? What's a district? It's a place made up of several different components. So you really have phase one is kind of the hook of the automotive district, and that's the performance driving circuit. That's your automotive country club. That's your garage condo community. It's a differentiator. Whereas if we just, let's say, had a automotive innovation park or light industrial, but things automotive related, it doesn't really differentiate it from any other light industrial park that's around the country or even around the state. And I mean, developments like this, you're starting to see automotive country clubs pop up more around the country as it's becoming harder and harder to kind of push the limits of your vehicle on the road. I mean, you want a place to do it in a safe environment with like-minded individuals, for friends, for family, to grow your business, to entertain clients, and really even bring people to the state of Michigan. I mean, people will travel for developments like this, and they do, whether it be even now there's developments in Florida, in Atlanta, in California, and they kind of geographically locate themselves close to private airports. There's a couple sayings in racing. One of them is speed costs money. So how fast do you want to go? Basically meaning how much money do you want to spend? So yeah, motorsports, there is a certain dollar or cost associated to it. So you see it typically attracts a higher net worth individual. But we have a great location with the Livingston County Airport. It's less than 10 minutes away. I guess they've been already kind of getting some interest and calls from people about seeing what's the hangar space, what can they accommodate for plane wise and stuff like that. So we're even seeing there's an interest of pulling people to Michigan and just hang out in Livingston County, spend their time here, bring coworkers, do business here, friends, family. And that's what it is, just to help grow the community. I mean, to do that, you need things to do, activities. And that's a great place to have it, is with a performance driving circuit, pushing yourself to 150 miles an hour plus.
So when you're saying that this is an auto country club, is there going to be opportunities for the public, maybe those people who don't really know, maybe they do have the passion but don't know it yet, to come in and experience what you have to offer without being part of the country club aspect of it?
Yeah, absolutely. For every business, it has to be sustainable. So as far as the country club model, that's where the sustainability comes in, is you have members that are there to, keep the doors open. But then on top of that, then you layer on the North Circuit, which is going to be for rentals. So for non-members, basically public rentals. And it could be a company wanting to record for marketing purposes, do promo shoots, videos, things like that, driving experiences. So now we're kind of starting to get into phase 2 and 3 of the project, which is the automotive innovation park and the mixed use entertainment zone. So as far as if you don't have a kind of like a corporate interest in the district, that's where you'd be in the mixed use entertainment zone. So think hotel, restaurant, retail, entertainment. Actually, the people who acquired our indoor racing and event venue in Novi, they have an interest in putting another location out here. So it's high-speed electric karts. They've got virtual reality, axe throwing, driving simulators. So it's something for the non-members, right, for the public to kind of enjoy and engage in. Like I said, same thing for the restaurants and other entertainment. You've got places like Top Golf. There's a new startup that's similar to Topgolf, but it's with baseball. So that it's kind of, I can't remember, the name is escaping me right now, but they have a miniature like baseball diamond in the center of it, and then they've got the simulator bays around, and you can either be a pitcher or a batter. So if you're the pitcher, right, you're actually throwing the ball at the screen and trying to strike out the batter. And then if you're the batter, the ball kind of shoots out of the screen and you got to try to hit a home run.
That's
so
cool.
different stuff like that. And
yeah,
we'll develop these places, bring in tenants. We're not going to be the operators of those places, but develop it and either sell pads, lease pads, rent pads, things like that.
Awesome. It's very exciting. You're talking about the development and just kind of the whole community effort. And it's a huge economic catalyst for Livingston County. It's truly destination worthy, especially since you're already gaining that interest and that momentum from, individuals outside of Michigan. So it's really cool to see our county have that highlight and
the economic
visibility.
Like you said, being that economic driver, bringing in these higher net worth individuals who are going to come here, who are hopefully going to fall in love with our with our downtown Howell and with our surrounding area, and possibly bring in businesses and just shop downtown, eat downtown, just enjoy everything that we have to offer. So this is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And even
it's a very broad vision.
Oh, thank you. Some of the tours we've done, where we'll first start on the east side of the property, and then what we actually do is drive out, go down Lucy Road, go through downtown Howell, come in where the main entrance is going to be, which is off of Michigan Ave, D19, Pinckney Road. And as we drive through downtown Howell, people who maybe aren't familiar with the area, they're like, this is really nice. They're maybe used to developments like this being so far away from anything civilization. I mean, we've got Home Depot 5 minutes away, Lowe's, there's chain restaurants, you've got shops, local, Ace Hardware, like even the local restaurants and local businesses. There's this great community that already exists. And one of the nice things, we're able to locate so low is because we're right next to a highway. So we're not producing any more sound or noise than what already exists there. We did the background sound studies and things like that. And so it allows you to locate that performance driving circuit maybe a little bit closer to residential or to where other businesses are, just because we're not increasing more of a disturbance than kind of what already exists.
Yeah, there's been a lot of effort on your part to ensure that there's as little disruption as possible. And I know that that's really appreciated by the community. I wanted you to have an opportunity to highlight some of the peaks and valleys of doing business with family, because this is a family operation, correct?
Yep. Yeah. Myself and my father, Mark, even in going back to hockey, he was actually my coach for some of the teams I was on. We were heavily involved, and we were doing our karting, traveling all over the country, be driving me around kind of like team manager. And then even at JD Karting, we were partners in it. And then even now with Motorsports Gateway. So we've been pretty much tied at the hip for most of my life. And the highlights and lowlights of family businesses is a highlight is you have that familiarity already. And sometimes when you go into, it could be a new relationship or a new business, like you're trying to figure out, what's this person about? Are they safe? Can I trust them? Whereas we've had 35 years of that to build that trust. But then at the same time, because there is that much deeper familiarity and comfort there, you really got to be disciplined to make sure you don't take liberties with that person, or even assume that you know what that person is thinking or feeling or trying to say. So it's like,
it's kind of that
you live by the
22,
sword,
right.
Die by the sword. And so that's anytime we've had some pretty passionate, pretty heated discussions, and there's been other people around who have kind of been witnesses to it, and they're just like, oh my gosh, are these people going to be able to continue on after this? And as soon as the conversation's done, I guess it's an argument. As soon as the argument's done, we carry on with our day like we're fine. I could see him for dinner or hang out on the weekend. It's not a problem. And people are like, how do you do that? Well, it's because there is that familiarity there, but we realize that we got to be disciplined. We can't have those conversations in front of other people if we want to, close ourselves behind doors and really hash it out. And it's just because we're arguing or we're trying to convince the other strongly about what our opinion is or what our experience is. But as time goes on, we're finding that kind of that bullseye, that target of what's a happy balance where we can really leverage the trust that we have in the experience and kind of maybe anticipating a little bit what the other person is thinking or the direction that they're going to go in. But then also at the same time, having that balance and that discipline and the respect that when it's business, and when it's personal, it's personal. And even for me, what I started doing is when it's business, I call him Mark. And that's people like, well, that's your dad. Isn't that weird? But what that is a cue to him that says, okay, we're interacting for business. This isn't personal. And then when it's personal, it's dad. I have no problem with that.
I think that's a great distinction. And it's a small millimeter of a shift, but in your mind, it takes him away from being your dad. All of a sudden, it's just Mark sitting across the table. It's not my dad, who typically would be like an authority figure to you, and maybe you're I don't know.
Well, it helps to remove some of that emotional piece of it, where you can.
It makes
this
it business,
is not
personal.
This is business. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, you're
That's
both spot
interesting.
on with that.
Yeah.
And it's just the little things, little cues that tell somebody like, okay, here's where we're at. Here's what our state of mind should be. And you got to have those, especially in a family business. It's like you almost have to pay more attention to it as far as how you're interacting or even what your state of mind is towards this other person.
Absolutely.
Well, also, there's a lot more to lose because, again, if it's different than having just a business partner. This is someone who is in your life, in your personal life, and there has to be a different level of respect there.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to be able to work with.
Yeah, this is something actually my wife came into where she hadn't really seen family businesses, and she'd be involved in some of our discussions with myself and Mark, and then on the weekends, you know, come over and still play catch. And she's like, how do you guys do that? But yeah, it works great for us. Not for everybody. Like, I don't know if you both remember the show Orange County Choppers on, I think it was on Discovery or TLC.
Was that with the like motorcycles?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a show. They're probably hamming it up a little bit, but the son and the dad,
Yes.
they like throw furniture, break windows, tools, and like slam doors. We never got to that level. And I don't ever want to get to that level
Right.
with my dad or Mark. But
For your dad or Mark.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, it's almost like they have to be two separate people,
Right.
because
Yeah.
you really do. He's your dad, and you want his approval, and you love him, you love each other, and it's different. I can see how that could cause some.
So you mentioned a little bit of adversity in dealing with family. So I also wanted to touch on a little bit of adversity you may have faced in childhood as well.
Yes. So growing up with the last name Dick isn't necessarily the easiest thing to have. I mean, kids are pretty ruthless. And you even talk about some of the bullying that goes on and stuff today. But it was around the time that kids, I think, started to put two and two together and maybe realized what it actually meant. But like in Canada, it's not that big of a deal. Like even in Europe, it's not that big of a deal. It just seems to be in the States. But yeah, just ruthless. Like
how did that impact your mental and physical health, you know?
Pretty negatively.
Okay.
As a kid, I was super like happy-go-lucky, outgoing, would talk to anybody, always smiling. But then in like 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, it kept coming and coming and coming. And for no reason. Like I was a nice person, but just everybody trying to connect with others, and maybe I just became an easy target because of the name. But it really caused me to shut down. I mean, like body language, I wasn't very happy at all the time. And then I tried to talk to my parents about it, and they're just like, oh, it's okay. You know, we grew up with it. We dealt with the same thing. Like, you'll get fine. And I never felt heard in any of that. So then I just felt like I had to pack down my emotions and lock it down. But, spoiler alert, that's not the healthiest thing to do. You got to feel your feels and just kind of process them. But again, the highlight and the lowlight of that is going through adversity. And I think just from my experience is in business, or when you're an entrepreneur, you don't always deal with the best situations, and you just got to keep going. You have to be persistent about it. You have to have so many doors slammed in your face, so many no's, and just say, you know what? That's cool. Like, I believe in myself. I believe in what I'm doing. And like, we don't have the answer today, but we will get there. So, and you kind of got to go through adversity. At least I believe you got to go through adversity to get that. I mean, if you have, go ahead.
So everything that you endured during childhood, it was really an opportunity to learn how to deal with what you've been dealing with now, and you know, taking that application to where you're at, and it was preparing you in some ways. Not saying that it was right, but it just trying to put that in a light of like, you know, this is I guess this is what this had prepared me for, right?
Yeah. I guess just what comes to mind now as an example, playing hockey. I got run so many times. Now, when you say run, that somebody will literally take you out. You don't have the puck. You're in a vulnerable position because you're not thinking like, okay, I need to protect myself right now. But just like cross checks from behind, I'd have my back turned to them and just get smashed into the boards. And like, as they're skating away, people would say, you know, take that. And it's just like, why? So just examples like that. So not only just emotionally kind of abusive, even physically abusive, and that's hard. It's hard to deal with.
Absolutely. And I mean, do you feel that's definitely been something that you can see in kind of how it's shaped where you're at today?
Absolutely. I mean, you come to a fork in the road like that, you can either persevere through it, or kind of, I could have let it destroy me, but I chose to persevere. And not to say that there's maybe some negative habits that came out of that, or angers, or sadnesses that maybe manifest itself in a conversation. So I might feel threatened or something. And instead of having an open mind and really listening to what somebody's saying, it's like, oh no, I feel attacked right now. I'm just going to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So, that gets into just mental health and wellness, physical health and wellness. And
absolutely. Well, kudos to you for recognizing it and acknowledging it. And we've had some conversations on our show, and actually one recently where we talked about fear and really how those fears are created, and a lot of them are created in situations and traumas that you experienced. So a lot of the times that will keep people from pursuing their dreams.
Mm-hmm.
So again, kudos to you for leveraging that and turning that around into an opportunity to really make your dreams come true. And we talked about, candle blower outers, right? Like make sure you're not surrounding yourself with people that are going to blow out that flame. So that's really exciting stuff that, how far you've come.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's still a journey, every day I'm pursuing progress. I'm not pursuing perfection. It's, puts a lot of pressure on you. I think maybe one of the negatives of going through that experience is I felt like I always had to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And like even going into situations, and I'd prepare and over prepare and like really give myself so much anxiety just because I felt like I had to be right. But it's like, you know what? It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to learn from it. And you'll figure it out and just get the cycles in.
And that's exactly what we talked about as well. It's that overcoming that fear of failure, because really, like you said, what's the worst that's going to happen? You learn from it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and using that failure as momentum to go forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, we're very excited for the development of this project and to see it all come to fruition, hopefully very soon with phase one. I know you guys are working really hard on all of that. So we'd love to have you back on and maybe an update in the future, but we appreciate your time today and sharing your journey with us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me out. It was cool to have my first live or in-person podcast here. So it's cool to share that.
We were your first.
Right.
It's fun. It was a good one.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan.
My pleasure.
All right. Until next time.